Hi, friends. Hello, the world. Welcome back to this episode of the podcast Tools for Transitioning Humanitarians. And today I want to talk to you about another tool that I think as humanity we really like to have. And if we don't have it, we feel like dissatisfied, we feel not fulfilled, we feel like something is not right, or we're not really doing things, or it doesn't make sense. And then we start questioning a lot of the things because work or whatever the result that we want to create in life is so important to so many of us. Well, I would say for probably all of us. So the topic is results. So I will be talking to you about how currently many humanitarians are trying to solve this problem and how it could be effective to solve it. And I will suggest my approach to solving it. And I will invite you, of course, also to coach with me on getting clear on what results you want to create and why and how, and in the most fulfilling, satisfied way that you can think about. So if you want coaching on this, you definitely need to come to me. So let's start with the topic of result and where the problem is, right? So the problem that many of my humanitarian clients come to me to solve for is the problem of them not seeing the result of the work they're doing, right? So some of them say that, well, as a program, I'm just looking at the budget or trying to like work out things with a partner organization, but I'm not really doing anything directly with the people that I want to serve. So I don't really know what my result is in the end, except like a lot of writing, a lot of numbers, and this is it. Or another client of mine says that I'm in charge of reporting all the activities and I keep reporting and reporting. I keep gathering all this information from different people, but in the end, I'm not really sure if anyone is reading the a report that I'm writing. So I know that it makes sense that I should do this or this position exists, but I still don't really see them result of serving the people that I want to serve, right? So this is usually how people come to me with a problem. And then they try to solve this problem by either doing nothing about it and keep like entertaining this question of, I'm not really doing anything tangible. I'm not really making any impact. I don't really see the result of my work. This is one of the ways that we keep entertaining to a point that then we feel like we need to do something about it. But at the same time, we don't really know what to do about it, right? So I'm assuming you can relate to this. Another way many humanitarians try to solve it is by criticizing the system and the bureaucracy and all the things and saying that, well, because of all of these bureaucratic hurdles, I can't really do it, or because of the setup that is not really what I like, because in the end, I don't directly help people or I don't directly serve the people I want to, and therefore it until the work that I'm doing gets to the people that I want to serve, it's so many different people in between, then therefore I don't really see the result of what I'm actually doing, except that I'm just doing the activities, right? So this is another way they try to solve by criticizing the external system that exists, or another way of people trying to solve it is by blaming others or saying that because of this team, because of these people, I can't really serve people the way I want to, or it's not really possible. And then we keep beating ourselves up for not really being fulfilled, not really being satisfied with our job, with our work. Excuse me. And therefore, again, we don't really see the result of what actually we're doing and whether it makes sense of what we're doing, basically, right? So I know that we have many of us, I think, trying to solve this problem in this way of either criticizing what already exists or not being satisfied with what we're already doing or what we're already creating in terms of results. And then because we don't really see the direct, like tangible effect of what we're doing, is somehow changing lives or changing situation or changing things in the maybe systematic way, because we don't really see that immediately, or it needs to be a long term before we see something, and therefore we get frustrated as to whether all of what we're doing makes sense, right? Because our brains are such energy saving, not liking waste, amazing, efficient brains who don't like to be working on things that we don't really see the results of, or we don't really see the results of immediately, or maybe even if it's a long term, we really want to see like a midterm or smaller milestones. Otherwise, we feel like we're just wasting our time. We feel like we don't really are not really doing things, or all of what we're doing does not make sense, and therefore we feel like the reason why we should be then transitioning, for instance, or the reason why we should move to another duty station, or if we can't really move to a duty station, that we feel like we're stuck and we can't really do anything about it, and therefore we feel like we just need to go through and survive the routine and then just hoping for the best. So here is how I would love to approach this problem and help you also approach it this way, if you allow me, because the questions that I think we're asking when we are searching for the results or searching for the impact that we're wanting to create, those questions are not really like effective questions. And one of the effective questions that I know you could ask yourself is, or at least I would ask you, is what result do you really want to see happening and you're not seeing that happen, right? So what result would make you feel satisfied, fulfilled, that you currently don't have? Because our brains like to be also very vague and feel like if we're not directly helping people, or if we're not directly servicing them, or if we're not directly interacting with them on the regular, or if we don't really see the effect of what we're doing or the impact of what we're doing, then we start feeling like there is no result, or we're not really creating a result, right? So that's why knowing all of this of what we have within us in terms of what our expectations are, we need to be very specific as to what results are we expecting to be there, or what results are we wanting to create so that we feel satisfied, we feel proud, we feel like we're actually doing something, right? And that could be many different things for so many different people. So I remember in my own career, at a certain point, it used to be just registering people, asylum seekers coming over to our doors, registering them and interviewing them would be like the world to me. It just, that's all I wanted to do all day, every day. I didn't even care how long it took. I just wanted to do and interact with them and get to know their stories, get to know of why and how they were there, right? So this was my huge result back then. And then as I grew in my career, I started looking at problems from different perspectives, from different angles. And I also realized that that's not really maybe an effective solution, because I wanted to help find effective solutions basically. And at some point over the growth of my work, I realized that I really wanted to work on systemic issues, because the one-time assistance or individual approach may not always be effective. And therefore, obviously, my expectation of what results I wanted grew as well as I grew in my own growth of humanitarian work, to a point where I realized that the humanitarian work that I was doing at the time was not really yielding the systemic solutions that I really wanted to be part of. And therefore, I realized that that's not how I really want to be doing humanitarian work. And as per definition, humanitarian work often does not involve systemic solutions to the problem, right? It is a one-time assistance. And then I started having this conflict within me to say, okay, if I want to be assisting one time to the people until the crisis is over, which is fine, I can do that. But then over that crisis, after years of crisis, does that really make sense to do that? And at some point, for my personal decision, I have decided that that's not what I want to be doing. So that's why I really encourage you to be thinking about what results do you expect of your work that you are doing currently, right? So it could be so many number of different things, as I gave you in an example. And then if you're not doing those things, then what are you going to do about it? Do you want to change then a position so that you can do that thing? Or you want to continue doing whatever you're doing because that's worth it? Because whenever you have something that you expect a result, then and then you realize that you don't have that result, or you can't have that result because your position does not allow you to have that result, for instance, right? Then, like one of the example is, let's say that you're a program officer or you work in the program area, and then working with beneficiaries, or even if you don't call beneficiaries, people who you serve, working with them is not maybe something that you do on the regular every day, and therefore but your result that you're wanting is the regular interaction and regular way of serving them, then do you really want to change your position, or do you want to go to another job or not, right? So if you're not going to do that, then staying where you are, is it worth it? Maybe it is for you, and you decide what that is, right? Or maybe it's worth pursuing that result. So whichever it is, you choose, but don't leave it where, oh, I just don't know, or I can't, or it's just so hard. And don't do these things, because your brain does not like vague or complicated stories. Your brain likes very concrete and very specific instructions. So if you say that this is the result I'm expecting so that I can be fulfilled and proud and happy, but I can't really have it with my current position, then you decide what to do with that position. Do you want to keep it, or do you want to change to the position that allows you to have the result you want to? Right? So that's like a very specific action you can take based on what you deem more worth it, whatever that is for you, instead of keeping your brain always in this vagueness, or keep your brain in this criticism mode of, oh, I can't do it because of this, because of this, and then you just exhaust yourself and it's not useful. So that one of the most effective ways is what would make you feel proud, fulfilled, satisfied, what result would make you feel that way. And can you have it in your current position? If not, what are you going to do about it? And this way, at least, we will give our brains the direct instructions. So, for instance, let's say that we decided to stay where we are because we feel like this is more worth it than going to pursue the result that we want to. Then we also need to have our honest conversation with ourselves to say that I like my reasons for staying here because of these reasons. And therefore, I will not be again asking for whether the result I'm producing is worth enough or not worth enough, or all the things, because you know why you chose to stay where you are, right? Now, another way to approach this problem of not seeing the result is that we may also be wanting some kind of a very huge result that we believe should be happening. And we also may need to check for how realistic that is as well, right? So I will give you another example of how that is the case. So for instance, um, at some point in my career, I remember believing that for $2,000 project, for instance, we would need to serve like lots of different villages with lots of different projects, and then it will be just everyone will be happy, and then sustainable assistance, and then everyone will be there, right? But then I realized in the system that I was working in order to do that project, it would need a lot of resources, human resources of different people getting involved, different people at different stages, approving things, considering things, discussing things, and all the things. And by the time it arrived at the people, it wasn't even the number that I was thinking about. And technically, it wasn't possible either. And then I realized that all of my expectations of what I was thinking was possible for the amount of money was not justified, or at least at the way that I was thinking at the time and the way I was expecting at the time. and the way the realities on the ground and the technical capacities, all of that did not make it realistic. And I think we need to also think about the result that we're hoping to achieve in the end. Is it realistic? I think many of us ask this question a lot when it comes to goals. We start immediately criticizing ourselves for saying it's not realistic. If we transition here, it's not realistic, or earning this much amount is not realistic, or whatever it is. But when it comes to the results that we're expecting and what kind of results we're expecting, we don't really check with ourselves to see that. And therefore, we don't ask that question if our expectation is like huge results that we're expecting. Now, we need to then ask and put it in the context of where we are and whether what we're expecting in terms of the result that we should be achieving, is that really realistic? Now, the other side of this coin is the other one that I want to warn you with, which is some people, some humanitarians are trying to justify their work by saying, if I only help one person, then my job is done, right? Now, we may say that to ourselves as many times as needed, but I think many of us not really satisfied with that, or at least check with yourself how you feel about it. Because I know that I have given in the past this idea that I have received from some of humanitarians that I love, and they were telling me that at very high positions in the organizations, they kept feeling like they're not really doing an impact they wanted, and therefore assisting one refugee or assisting one person they were serving. That was like, as long as they can do that, then it's worth doing it and keep doing it. And I think that's an amazing approach to give importance to every person that we want to serve and serve it well. And that's amazing. But at the same time, I think we always look at the results also from the position of where we are and how many people we could potentially serve and help with and make changes to their lives. And therefore, our ratio should also be checked with ourselves. And therefore, we need to be honest with ourselves as well. So, for instance, when I was working in my last job, I also did that checking of the ratio with myself, is saying that, okay, as a manager and heading this office, right? I was having, I don't know, like 10 staff and about 80 people from partner organizations, various organizations, and covering like X amount of people. And then I was asking myself how many of these people I could serve in the way that I think is tangible, that makes sense, that is really shaping their lives in the way to the positive. How many of those people I need to be serving and having the impact so I can feel good about myself and about my work. And then when I made the calculations of the numbers of what the input I was putting or we were putting with the team and what the output that were coming, and for me, that sounded like too low or not significant number at the time. And therefore, I decided that maybe that's not how I want to make my impact anymore in the world. Maybe I want to make an impact in a different way, which is why I have decided to become a life coach, right? So that's why, of course, it doesn't need to be yours, need to be that way, but I'm just showing you so many different ways of looking at how you can look at your results and what are you going to be satisfied with, and check with yourself with honesty whether that's really what will make you satisfied, fulfilled or not. And if not, what are you going to do with it, right? So to wrap up all of the points that I really want to make is, instead of keep being stuck in the area of I don't really see the result of my work, I really want you to consider, what are you going to do about it? In other words, what results are you wanting to have that makes you feel, excuse me, satisfied, that makes you feel fulfilled, that makes you feel proud of what you do and your team's work that you work with? What result would that be? How would that look like, right? And can you currently, with your position, achieve that or not? And if not, what are you going to do it whether it's worth still pursuing the results you're wanting or staying where you are. If the result that you're pursuing is worth it, then how are you going to transition to that instead of keep blaming others or yourself, or keep feeling frustrated that you're still not really making the difference, and then keep like gathering more evidence or reasons why not to be happy with your work life, because that's likely where a lot of your energy, your efforts, your fulfillment, meaning of your life goes to as well, besides being with your loved ones or besides other areas of your life, right? So that's why it's really important that you show to yourself the result of your life, sorry, the result of your work. You show to yourself how are you making that impact with your work, with your team, through these means, and even maybe drawing out those things for yourself could be helpful, instead of just feeling in this vagueness, being in this vagueness, or being in this dissatisfaction and not really knowing what to do. So you could also check for whether your expectations are realistic, whether your expectations are in ratio, right? Ratio of what you are, what positions you hold to, what you're producing, or what changes you're producing, maybe with the team or with the people directly, or both. So you can check those things as well, because those really matter in terms of how you honor your truths about your work, about your results. And if you don't like it, or if you don't really feel like that's enough, or that's what you want to, then you can always ask yourself what is enough, or what, or how else would you like to make your impact, make your results known to yourself. Be like, create the results so you can be proud, so you can be fulfilled, and you always know that it's all worth it, it's all worth doing it so that you can create this result. And I really want my humanitarians to be always knowing that they can always trust themselves, their dreams, their desires of creating the impact, creating the change, creating the result they want, because they know how to do it, because they know how to do it with other teams, and because they really care about the cause of what they're doing. And that's what that's the life I really want to help you transition to. So, my dears, I really hope that you've enjoyed seeing the ways that you can create the evidence for how you're creating the result. And if you don't find it, then you always decide what to do with it, instead of just being stuck in that area of not seeing the results. If you want to work on this, I would really, really love to help you transition to the life that you exactly know how and why are you creating the result you want, and you always feel like it's worth absolutely doing and going all for it. Thank you so much. Have an amazing weekend.